Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to episode 24 of In the Red Corner. In a week when sport has thoroughly deflated me, I'm here to talk it through with Mr. Grant Winstanley, who I'm hoping is going to pop some air back in my tyres, or he's going to slash them completely. I don't know which one it is. How you feeling, mate?
All right. Okay. Great week of sport-ish. Could have been better, but you know what? That's why we're here, mate, to break it all down and, you know, take the rough with the smooth and see how we go.
Yeah, I love it. I think as a In the Red Corner tradition, we like to talk about when managers are getting sacked. Absolute savage. If you're a manager, you don't want to listen to this podcast because we're just signing your death warrant every week. Fat Frank has gone. He's bit the bullet. You know, it's been on the cards for a little while. We did mention it last week or the week before, that it wasn't looking great for him. They finally, I think there was probably an element of hoping he would resign and they wouldn't have to pay him off. That didn't happen, so they've ditched him, brought in Tuchel. I guess while we're on that, what do you reckon? Good appointment?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that bloke. Similar to, it reminds me very similar of like Unai Emery. It's one of those managers that kind of have a decent name, and I don't know why really. Like that kind of gets he's won a league with PSG.
Like I could win a league with PSG.
And in other news waters, well, you know what I mean? It's a bit.
It's the league he should be winning, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, he was the interesting thing is that he was obviously the successor to Klopp when he left for Liverpool after his sabbatical. I think he did okay with those guys, but I'm not.
Like he won anything, did he?
No, I don't think that's what I mean. He's not got the silverware, but apparently they rate him as very kind of, good football, tactically very good, but may upset a few people. Have they hired him because of the German contingent in Chelsea? Havertz, Werner, Rudiger.
Maybe.
Were they dominating the dressing room? Who knows?
Well, they've got it. Yeah, I think for him, he's inherited a very good core of a squad, which probably I heard someone this week describe it as it probably needs pruning, which is probably right. They've got a really huge squad.
Yeah.
You probably don't need. It's hard to keep that many people happy.
Yeah.
So you probably does need a bit of pruning, but I think the core of it, he's got some experience there. He's got a heap of good young players. If you can bring them together, if you can, if he's tactically astute as we think he is, Chelsea could become very dangerous quite quickly. But then he does have that reputation of he doesn't tend to stay wherever he is very long.
Yeah.
He upsets the apple cart, I think. So I guess only time will tell. I don't know. Do you know how long of a deal he got?
18 months.
Well, it says it all, doesn't it? It says it all.
I think in 12 or 18 months we'll be talking about another sacking.
They're probably, how much money Abramovich has probably spent on sacking managers?
I think it's about 110 million.
Which is insane, isn't it? That's just it's 110 million worth of poor decisions, isn't it? And it's maybe they're starting to learn. They're only giving someone an 18-month contract. For this guy, he only tends to stay in a job 18 months anyway. Maybe it's win-win for both. Maybe he'll just take them as far as he can.
The interesting thing is, now that Tuchel's coming at Chelsea, he is now back managing Thiago Silva, who he obviously didn't deem good enough to get a contract at Paris Saint-Germain and was a free agent. And now he comes into Chelsea and now, hey mate, you're my best centre-back now, I really need you. I've always rated you,
Oh, no.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, that will be interesting, that first training session.
Yeah.
Bench.
Well, there we go.
I don't know. Well, okay. So Frank's gone. Who's next? Who's death one are we signing today?
Steve Bruce, I think.
It's
Steve Bruce.
It seems like the obvious answer, I think. It's not going well. It's not been going well for a good few weeks. Is there whereas we just said then, Abramovich has got the money to just keep sacking people. Does Mike Ashley, he's also been through a heap of managers he's had to pay off.
Yeah.
I don't know what contract Bruce is on.
Yeah.
But is he, will he just stick it out? I don't know, maybe if Bruce hasn't got long to go, maybe he sticks it out, doesn't sack him. Maybe, and partly for lack of better options, really. Yeah. But there's a few, Rafford's sniffing around now, although there's no way he's going to go back with Mike Ashley. There's not a heap of good options. But yeah, it's pretty dire there, and I think it'll be interesting to see how differently it would have gone if there was fans in the stadiums. You know, if they start getting on this back in a public way in a stadium setting, you can quickly unravel, and then the board's kind of forced to do something.
Yeah. I feel as though throughout this season, I don't think he was. Well, he obviously wasn't a popular appointment anyway because of his Sunderland ties. Yeah. He's one of them managers that gets branded with that poor football. 10 men behind the ball. It's all about staying up as opposed to. He's
proving that theory right.
Exactly. But I think I've got a lot of sympathy for Steve Bruce in a way because I can't realistically see how many players are good enough at Newcastle. I mean, it's all right bagging the manager and different things, but it's like, well, who have you got?
The ownership has been the problem at Newcastle for a long time, hasn't it? We know this.
Mediocre players.
Yeah.
Very mediocre. Like,
what are you supposed to do with that squad? And you look at the table, maybe he's doing all right, I suppose, with that. It's not what they want to see.
Exactly. He arguably was doing better than. He finished higher than Rafa Benitez. Like last year, he's done as well as Rafa Benitez. Yeah. Money to spend, has that been? Did Rafa get more? What's the money to spend been like? Yeah, Rafa is kind of, I think, idolised. Not idolised, but I think he very much stood up to Mike Ashley quite a bit.
Well, he's more authority.
He was loyal when he was in the Championship and brought them back up. But then you could argue, well, if the money to spend or the squad that they had in the Championship, could Steve Bruce do the same? He's been promoted in the past. So it's kind of what do you level it for? And Newcastle is probably the worst job to have because of the expectation and the owner. Yeah. If you're not, you could finish 10th with Newcastle and kind of not play good stuff and it's still like not good enough.
And like I said, like I was just saying, the lack of better options at the minute. Yeah. Who's going to do a better job with that squad? No. Sam Allardyce has already gone. Yeah. He's already.
So what I feel is I've got a feeling. 2 days ago, interestingly, Newcastle added a new coach to the backroom staff.
Oh, okay.
And they took him from Bournemouth.
Right.
They've got Callum Wilson and they've got Ryan Fraser. So does that tell you that Eddie Howe will become the new...
He might do all right though. They give him time, but
Would he become the new Newcastle? I'm seeing a lot of Bournemouth.
I like this theory.
So is it Eddie Howe? Because then what they're going to... Eddie Howe is young manager. Yeah. Bournemouth, even though I'm his first critic, Eddie Howe, to say he wasted so much money at Bournemouth. Wasted so much money.
Well, there's no money to waste there.
50 million on Jordan Ibe.
Deal of the century, that.
Yeah, I know. It's just one of those. So, but would the fans they would probably want somebody like him because it's not the Bruce.
It's a bit more of a romantic appointment, isn't it, than getting the old fellas in to do a job. Sam Allardyce.
Lampard.
Oh God.
Would they go for him? No.
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 It's too big. Again, it's too big. I think. I know Chelsea's a bigger club, but it's a bloody big job to do anything in Newcastle there. I don't know. I don't think Lampard's proven that he can galvanise a squad. He's had a bunch of young, very good players there that he hasn't done anything with. What are you doing with a bunch of not very good players that are all struggling?
From 6th to 6th.
Yeah.
With good players.
I think Lampard probably needs to go back down a level, doesn't he? Or he needs to go and be someone's assistant for a while. And
what about, again, big club expectation? What if Lampard went to Celtic? Because Gerrard...
Well, there's a narrative there, isn't there? Yeah. It's a step down in quality, but it's not a step down in club size, is it? In terms of how the fans perceive it and what it means. But well, you mentioned Eddie Howe for Celtic as well. Obviously, that
I think
this job is imminently coming up. Again, we feel
the money and the prestige of Premier League is obviously higher than Scottish football. However, if I was Eddie Howe, my advice to him would be get some silverware on your resume. And if that means you're not winning a bean at Newcastle, it's just the way it is.
It's just not for
even though the fans expect a treble every year. But Celtic, I know obviously Gerrard's doing wonders with Rangers, but I think that's a fantastic opportunity. Like Brendan Rodgers did, he went away from the league for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Started winning silverware.
Just look at it. You've got a 1 in 2 chance of winning the league.
More or less.
Probably, pretty much.
Exactly. Whereas at Newcastle, you're bringing a knife to a gunfight.
Yeah. And your hands are tied behind your back because the owners are frigging terrible.
Exactly.
And they're not going to back you. Yeah. No, it's a nightmare. But I'm interested to see where And maybe the answer to a lot of these questions comes with what happens with Celtic. Because it's a very attractive job, isn't it? A lot of people are going to... Like, it's a good proving ground, as Gerrard's proven right now. You can go there, and if you can galvanise these squads, galvanise the Celtic squads, you've got a very good chance of winning silverware quite quickly. It's on your record. Brendan Rodgers did it. So, yeah, you know, if Lampard could go there with and sell himself well enough, good chance. Eddie Howe looking for a way back in, good chance of that as well. I wouldn't be against either of those appointments for that club.
Yeah.
But I wonder, for the Premier League, is there a chance of no? But that's it now. Everyone else sticks around till the end of the season because there's no money going around in the game. No one's going to come in and change too much at the minute. Is it just you stick until the end of this season because it's a mad one anyway, and you see where you land up and go from there rather than pulling any triggers now. What's the point? Yeah.
One manager that I am keeping an eye on is Graham Potter at Brighton.
Okay.
Because I feel as though I don't think he's only been there not that long, but I don't know. I think the home record. I don't think they may have won a home game, or I'm not too sure. That could have changed, but I know that the results at home have not been great, and I feel as though that's kind of if there's somebody, and it's all about who's available. If there's someone. You know, a Lampard, is that a move? Is that a Brighton? Or if there's someone readily available and they go, Graham Potter's only we're in a relegation dogfight, or he's not really galvanising the squad. We need an uplift. We need to stay in the league. Yeah. You know, do we have an injection that way? Who knows? Depends
how much cash the clubs have got, because they're going to have to pay these guys off, aren't they? And no one's making any transfers at the minute because no one's got any money.
Yeah.
Are you wanting to spend a couple of million? I know it won't be that much for Brighton, but a couple of million sacking your manager and bringing another one in. I don't know. I've got a feeling people might stick now.
Well, yeah.
I did think Wilder was obviously next on the chopping block, but he's had an upturn in form.
Has he?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Well, we will get into. We'll briefly run over Premier League action because I don't think there's too much to analyse. But
plenty.
Just to finish off on Lampard, I want to actually read you a quote.
Oh, here we go.
So I've got a quote here. The players have nothing to do with the dismissal. He played his cards and it hadn't worked. I don't know if he was too young or whether it had come too early for him. That was Frank Lampard talking about Andre Villas-Boas on the sacking of Chelsea manager in 2014. Interesting. The word karma comes to mind.
It sounds familiar there, doesn't it, Frank? That's very interesting.
So that's an interesting one. So yeah, you mentioned Chris Wilder, so I'm sure you want to speak about some football action.
As I say, I thought you might have been on the chopping block, but all seems to be going well up in Sheffield at the moment. I haven't seen the game this morning. Tell me about it.
Yeah, you don't need to. Don't tell me the score. I've taped it. No. Obviously, it's not on it's not by mistake I'm wearing an England shirt. You may have noticed today. So,
I just thought it was coloured washing day. I thought you only got your whites out.
That's it. But this morning, what can I say? Poor performance. Interestingly, Sheffield United have only scored 2 goals in a game this season, twice, and they were both against Manchester United.
Interesting, okay.
Yeah, because I think we were 2-0 down to them at their place and came back and won.
Yeah, right.
And they scored another 2 here. So, performance-wise, lazy. No desire to win the game, no desire to win the ball back, which was a bit lazy defending. I mean, how many times I've probably said it on here, Man United on corners, honestly. I don't know who our set piece coach is, but defending corners were atrocious.
Isn't it mad that you think you were pretty much galvanised after the last couple of results?
Yeah. Came out
find yourself up the top of the table, not top of the table, but at the top of the table. And then there's this kind of lackluster, lazy, that was the word you used, performance. How mad is that? How can you?
I don't. Yeah.
I've been saying this for weeks. Nobody wants to win this league. All of a sudden, City seem like they want to win it, but people can't. You can't string a run of results together for the life of us.
Yeah, it's. I mean, when Sheffield United scored again, De Gea he's not good on catching like a corner, he's not good at catching it. He's not good. He needs a bit more authority in the box.
Right.
Peter Schmeichel's day, I mean, it did help. He was probably bigger than everyone, but he would literally run out and just
lamp it.
Yeah, put a fist on it or grab it or something and take authority. No one's bullying him. But I think Billy Sharp kind of shoved De Gea a little bit, which went unseen by kind of VAR. There was kind of a shove. And I'm not making excuses for that, but the reason I say that is like 10 minutes later, maybe longer, Man United get a corner. Harry Maguire, because he wins every header in the opposition box, it just goes wide, right? Harry Maguire wins the header as always, and it goes in the net. And VAR looks at it, and it said it was Maguire did a foul on the goalkeeper, I think, and it was more or less a similar. It was a very soft thing. And yeah, it got chalked off. I'm like, if you line both of them up, it's very similar.
Again.
Very similar. So, he made a few changes, which I thought was maybe not unwarranted. Eric Bailly rested for Tanzebi. That the winning goal was a deflection off him. Can't do much about it. But Tellez came in over Shaw. Now, Luke Shaw, if you remember me saying, I was holding my hands up with Luke Shaw, saying it's probably the best run of form pre-leg break that he had, the way he's going. So he dropped out. Matic came in as well into midfield. So he made a couple of changes, and then Martial. I mean, I'm not a hater.
You're not his biggest fan.
No, I know this. And he's starting a game again. He must have naked pictures of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer on his phone or something, because I do not know how. He starts again. I just don't know how.
Did he start in that kind of forward role on his own again?
He was. Where did he play? Yeah, I think he did. And then, but I think
that's where that first game against Liverpool he played in that lone striker role, which is like crying out for Cavani to start there.
Yeah, exactly.
And he played him there, and
he played in that role. And
he's not built for that, is he?
Exactly. And shout out to Matt Williamson. One of his quotes back home was, "He moves like a 35-year-old Martial." He don't run. He don't make runs.
Yeah, right.
He just stands there, turns his back, and he's a bit of a suck anyway. And you just see him just like waiting for the ball. It's like, mate, how's about you chase someone down or like run, turn on it, do something. And Mason Greenwood and Rashford had a poor game as well, which he has been. The Liverpool game he played well, but the other games he's been struggling. But anyway. Mason Greenwood was the best out of the front three, and even Mason Greenwood's having a tough season.
Yep.
And yet it was Mason Greenwood on whatever time it was, 65, 70 minutes. It was him that came off for Cavani.
Right.
Massive. Right. What? What's he seeing in Martial?
Naked pictures. That's all. That's the only plausible explanation.
And I think Donny van der Beek's got some. I think he must have released some Donny because
he's got some of Donny, and he doesn't have to play him.
Well, maybe because Donny only
on the bench and shut
exactly. Donny came on for like last 5 minutes. I'm like, I mean, I know the bloke's
like criminally underused, isn't he?
Yeah, and I was like, I mean, Hollywood. Yeah, this bloke's trying to prove to you that he wants to start and wants a game, and you're giving him 5 minutes when we're 2-1 down at home to bottom of the league. It's like,
there's a lot of changes there, and that's it's perfectly normal at the minute the situation everybody's in. We're coming off a very, very busy period. You have got a bit more a favourable run of games now. I think slightly more favourable.
Well, I think the worrying thing, or maybe why he did the changes, is that I think Arsenal's coming up.
Yeah, okay.
And I think I reckon, not to say he's overestimate. I think he's not to say he's overlooked Sheffield United, but I think he's looked at it and gone, could do with a few fresh legs here.
Well, this is my chance
I'll make
to
3
rest.
or 4 changes at home, and I'll get away with it. And he hasn't.
And that happens. It's happened to a lot of teams this year where you've had to manage your squad, and there's got to be a game somewhere you've got to choose to make the rotations, and you have to hope that the changes you make, you're not going to drop the quality too much. You still got the big names playing there this week, and they really should have had enough to overcome Sheffield United, but they've had a good game, I'm assuming, and they've got the job done. Yeah,
well, me and about 2.7 million plus managers went Bruno Fernandes captain in the fantasy football, and apparently he's the highest ever captaincy of all time. Yeah. And
even I brought him in this week.
Did you?
Excellent.
Got us nothing. So I blame you. The Bruno curse.
curse.
So,
I took out Mane for him. So obviously Mane's going to get a hat-trick in the morning.
Yeah. So and
get your money on that.
And this is the thing. We love Australia for the time difference in the UFC.
Oh, fantastic.
When it's maybe that 6 a.m. Kick-off over here before work, a nice game, a lovely performance, sets you up your day. When you watch a game like that this morning, it really sets the tone for the day. Really sets the tone.
Deflated is the word I'm using.
It is deflated.
Word of the day.
Reminds me of Sunday. But before we get into what Sunday brought, obviously I want to focus a lot of time on the FA Cup. We know that is you talk Champions League, you talk, you talk Premier League, Champions League, and FA Cup makes a treble. I mean, I would say FA Cup's probably the hardest to win out of all them three. I mean, I think it's been quoted to say. Matt, what was your
The majesty
analysis?
of the FA Cup is lost on us. It's absolutely lost.
What was your thoughts of the game?
A strange one because, despite the result, it's the best we've played in quite a while.
Yeah.
It looked more like a Liverpool side that that we've come to know and love, and the best Liverpool side I've seen in my lifetime. Mm-hmm. It looked like more like that. Salah got 2 goals, which is great. It's what we needed, and they were very Liverpool goals. He took them both well. Again, happy days. I think the crux of it was, again, you can see those defensive frailties and what we're having to do to prop ourselves up around it. You don't want to put too much onus, or you don't want to throw Reece Williams under the bus, but there were some mistakes that he's made there. But at the end of the day, he's a 19-year-old lad playing probably way above where he should be playing at the minute. He's coming in, he's had good games and stuff, but I think when he came in and played in the Champions League, he played against Spurs, had a decent game, but you can it's hard to maintain that level. You come in and you're full of adrenaline, it's your debut, it's your first Premier League game or whatever, and you get through it and you help through it. Yeah. I think the other day, he just got caught out, and it just kind of shows what level he's at, and unfortunately, we're having to play him at the minute. There was plenty of positives though, and like I said, I don't think we should be throwing him under the bus there. It's a system thing. It's unlucky that we've got the injuries. Positives for me, James Milner looked great. He was everywhere. We should have played him more, I think, through this kind of rough patch that we've had, because I think he just brings a lot of sensibleness onto the pitch. What more can I say? Better performance, not the result that I wanted. What did you make of United's performance? Obviously, you got the win. Yeah. Were you happy with how you played? And it's going to be a priority now. Do you think you're going to, really prioritise that FA Cup?
Yeah, he needs...
Just forget about the league. Just leave it.
I don't... He needs silverware at the end of the day.
No, he does.
He needs silverware. And that's what he'll be judged on. Yep. No one remembers who's second and third in the league in 20 years' time, but they do always remember who won the FA Cup, who won the Champions League, who won the Premier League on the years, and that's what they do with trophies, and he needs one. So I'd say, go for it. And, growing up in the Alex Ferguson era, I was always brought up as you win every single competition. You're in every competition to win it. We're still in the Europa League. Yeah. Are we going to win the Europa League? Probably not, because I know that we've got a couple of Ricketts in us, not Michael Ricketts. We've got a couple of those dodgy games like we saw this morning, where this squad, we're close. We're close, but there's always those types of games in this squad still that still need sorting. So I think, by all means, let's go for it. But I know it'll be an interesting one, because, when it talk about Champions League qualification and whatever it is, I don't think we'll be kind of challenging for the league. I think watching Man City the other day in their performance, and I think the pundits and even us, we've been quite critical of them, but I think a lot of pundits were pretty quick to write Man City off, to be honest.
As they are with Liverpool at the minute.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, there's not a lot going on, especially in the UK at the minute. I think everyone is very quick to judge and put people down and put teams down. Yeah. Especially when you've got the teams like Liverpool and City. We'll use the example that have set such a high bar over the last couple of years. As soon as it slips now, your first thing that everyone thinks, it's over. It's over. It's gone. They're done. And you can have a shit, because we've set such a high standard. You just don't expect it now. but it's quite normal to have these, dodgy patches through the season, and that's why, like, obviously I think my hope for the FA Cup game there, obviously I wanted us to win it, but I was hoping we would win it and it would galvanise us and kick us on to the end of the season. Now we didn't get the win, but I do think it's going to have helped.
Yeah.
It's got us back to playing the way we want to play, and I think with the Spurs game tomorrow morning here, Thursday night it will be in the UK. I think that's what's most important for us now, and I think there's a point where I think Matip's back, which is great, and Henderson's back in, and I think there's going to come a point, because we don't know how much we can keep Matip fit. Really, it's about managing him, but there's a point where we need to prioritise getting our best 11 players on the pitch, even if that means I'm playing the word they're supposed to play, even if that means compromising the defence, and it might mean sticking with Reece Williams in the defence, if that means we can put Fabinho back in midfield, or we can make sure we can have Henderson in midfield, because I think we need to be able to do the things that we do really well, and I know it off balances us if the defence can't function the way it's supposed to be, but I do think there's an argument for just having your best lads on the pitch and getting them to do what they are used to doing. And yes, we might slip up at the back, and yes, you put in poor Reece Williams in a shocking situation but I think as long as we're aware of it and we're just like, he's going to make a mistake, and it's absolutely fine, because he's not Virgil van Dijk, he's 19, and he's gonna slip up. But I would rather have our best weapons where they're supposed to be used moving forward. Tomorrow, sorry. Not such a big deal. We've got Matip back in. We've got Henderson in the midfield. So I think that shores up that defence, hopefully. Keep him fit. Fingers crossed. We'll see how the game goes. Maybe even take him off early. Let's just protect him and let's see how much we can use him, because we've got big games coming up. We've got Spurs, we've got City, we've got Leipzig all on the horizon, with Brighton thrown in there somewhere, West Ham thrown in there as well. So tough games, similar to what you were just saying about United. It's about when can we rest lads, when can't we? So I think that the midfield's really important for us now, and with Henderson back in there, I'm interested to see what he does tomorrow morning. For me, I would have Henderson back in. I'd keep Thiago in, because I think I want to see him play more with Henderson in that midfield, and I think I'd keep Milner in. I think I'd keep Milner in for his nous, for his steely grit and determination. I think someone needs to put a foot in somewhere, someone who needs to help somebody out. Whether it's Trent on the right, if he's been struggling, he's not in form, whether he goes and helps him out, because City are coming brewing with confidence. Yeah, they're firing on all cylinders. We've got Spurs tomorrow. I think again, dangerous side. We know what Mourinho is probably going to do. He's probably going to try and park that bus, make it really difficult for us to play the way we want to play, and catch us on the break
with Son and Kane.
Which is. Would be a daunting proposition if you were Reece Williams, but he's dealt with it before. Now that you've got Matip and Fabinho in, we're a bit more equipped to deal with that threat, which then hopefully allows us to play the way we want to play. So I think that that's what I'd do. I'd have my normal front three. I'd be interested to see if he sticks with that. Firmino stays in there. I'm assuming he will. I don't see why he wouldn't. Midfield of Henderson, Thiago, and James Milner. For me.
Yeah.
And we go and have a go, and we just go and play football like we've been playing for the last 2 years. See where it gets us. We've got Shaqiri on the bench there to come off. We can change a game, hopefully, if we need to. I prefer him coming off the bench. Yeah, see how we go.
Do you know that Liverpool haven't won a game this season when Thiago Alcantara has started?
Sick of you and your stats and your quotes.
That's it, mate. That's interesting.
It is a mad fact, isn't it? Because he's a brilliant player. And I think he missed the best portion of the season due to injury, didn't he? Really, and there's a bit of pressure on him as well, because he's been brought into this side now, and at a time when we were on the bones of our arse, wasn't it? And and everyone looks at him to, I can do something, lads, just do something, and it's not so easy. I like the look of him. I like how he can pick a pass out. I'm not a fan of his tackling. I'd compare it to Paul Scholes a little bit at times. It's a bit rash, and he doesn't have he's not got incredible pace, so that's one thing. But
is it bad tackling or dirty, as they used to say with Scholes? Does he know what does he know what he's doing in a clever way?
He's thrown a few tackles in at times, and I'm like, they're like early doors, and you're like, we're already on our arse, so you don't get sent off. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
He's got away with it thus far. But yeah, that's an interesting stat.
Have we glossed through the Premier League roundup? And have I let you get away with Burnley? Have we had a podcast since Burnley?
Yeah.
Have we?
I can't remember. It feels like a lifetime ago.
I know. Can I feel as though that was late last week?
There was a weird, because of the double.
I think I've seen you. I saw you on Sunday, but I don't think
I was as good as a podcast.
Yeah, I think you might have got away with one.
Yeah, the less said, the better.
So what I'll do is I'll do a smooth segue. Obviously, we'll talk about UFC. So then to finish there, who needs to win more, Klopp or Connor McGregor next?
They're both in desperate need. To quote Danny Cargill after what you told me last week, shite.
That's it. So anyway, I don't know if we were starting with Connor, but we did mention deflation. Sunday deflation. So
I was so deflated. We were so deflated.
Yeah, I know.
We were so deflated. We went for a swim.
Exactly.
And just floated around.
And just wanted the current just to take us.
It was grim.
Yeah.
It was grim. The mad thing was the build up was incredible. So excited for that Connor fight. Connor's back, and no one markets himself like Connor McGregor does. He builds it up, and he's going to get him out there in 60 seconds. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. He's full of confidence. So you're then full of confidence on him. And the fight just didn't play out the way I guess he thought it would. Definitely not the way I thought it would. But it was super interesting. It was one of those ones where I had my hands on my head, and you could see the end coming. You could see it, and it's that disbelief of like, oh my god, he's gonna lose here. Yeah. Obviously now there's been a lot of breakdowns, a lot of talks about it in the aftermath, and you see the importance of those leg kicks that were basically the game changer for him, really. And I don't think he wasn't expecting them, but I think he thought he would do more damage himself quicker, that he wouldn't have to worry about it really. Which is what has often happened in the past, but just shows how dangerous they are. I was reminded as well that that's what ended Sean O'Malley's fight. Do you remember when he
with
Chito Vera? Exactly the same thing. Couldn't continue, and it's almost it's a relatively new technique in the UFC, isn't it? And there's a lot of fighters, especially people like Connor, who haven't been in the octagon that much in the last 2 years or so.
Wasn't it Cejudo DJ as well? I seem to
that also Cejudo got unstuck by them. It's a new technique, and it works a lot better southpaw to southpaw, obviously, which is where again Connor's come unstuck here. I just don't think Connor's ever experienced it in live form, without the pads on or whatever. And and you
can't train for it. It's like John Kavanagh said, you can't train for it because when you're sparring, you're not
smashing the bits out of each other's legs.
You have to get that. You're wearing the pads, and you have to get that kick kind of perfect, and in that, and with that force, you can't.
So you never felt it.
You can't practice.
He's never felt that before, and his leg isn't conditioned to take that hit, and it really did. It just hindered him, didn't it? And you could see that in that final sequence, you saw the leg twist awkwardly. It then allowed Poirier to get behind him and start that final sequence where he pressed him against the fence, and that's where Poirier is so dangerous. As soon as he got his back, as soon as Connor's back was against the fence, it was over.
Yeah.
Were you surprised at Poirier took a few hits, right hands mainly from Connor, but he withstood the power, and there's this mystique of Connor's power. Has he still got it? What do you think obviously the leg kicks, but what do you think the reasons for his relatively poor performance?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we mentioned Poirier. I actually want to give Poirier an apology. And I think a lot of people owe him an apology. Last week on the episode, I broke down the way Conor will finish him in 60 seconds. It'll be a flash head kick. It'll be something marvellous, spectacular. And also, the reason I want to give him an apology is I thought about this fight in my head over and over, 100,000 times, and every single one didn't have Poirier winning that fight.
No.
And that's not because I think he's a great fighter. And I think Sportsbet also need to give Poirier an apology, because Sportsbet had him nearly $4 to win the fight against Conor McGregor.
But do you think the reason for that is because Conor markets himself so well. He makes you believe
that
this is what's going to happen, and it's an incredible power that he has.
Yeah,
we all believe. We all bought into
Conor McGregor.
His self-belief.
Conor McGregor suckered us in to Mayweather.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people out there who said it's going to be him.
Yeah.
And you go, and then afterwards you go,
what was I thinking?
He's done us, you know.
But that's why he's such a, it's a huge star, because he gets that buy-in from the fans, doesn't he?
Yeah, but I think, that whether he's still got it, whether it's that power, like you were saying, I think obviously with it being upper weight, now he's not bashing featherweights. I think is interesting. He's not, he's not
Yeah, I did think about that. When his power translates.
Now he's got kind of more weight on, and but he's been, I know he's been up to
like Alvarez.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. So, like we said on Sunday, we'll buy the excuse. I know he said he's not a man of excuses, but he did also cleverly put in there about the inactivity, the ring rust. We understand you've been out the game for 12 months, and that 12 months was only 40 seconds. I understand that.
And it's a genuine, it affects people differently, doesn't it? The ring rust, the timing.
It is.
He didn't quite seem himself.
Exactly.
He wasn't as bouncy on his toes. He wasn't as elusive.
So was it the rushing of the shots? Was it not having that same pop, that same?
Or is Poirier just really good, really tough?
Or he's been in that many wars that he's now become accustomed and durable to.
Got to find a different way to finish him.
I'm going to get punched in the face.
Yeah.
But as soon as I get cracks, I'm coming at 1 or 2 to you as well.
Yeah. And like you're right, Connor's cleverly played that card.
Yeah.
He had that card in his back pocket. Inactivity, because he's been saying it. He wanted more fights. Inactivity. Put the card on the table now. You've played it. Your next fight is fucking huge.
Yeah, it is.
There's no excuse next.
No
you're
excuse.
either back in the mix, or you're not relevant in the division anymore. You're not what you once were. And this division is stacked with killers, and we rather than dwelling on there'll be a million breakdowns of the fight. I think what the interesting thing is now is what happens next. The other fight, which is worth mentioning again, I was massively surprised. I know you actually backed Hooker. You actually backed Michael Chandler, so fair play to you. I was completely of the opinion that Hooker would have the toughness to beat him. I said to you at the time, Hooker didn't look right. We still haven't heard from him. Still haven't heard anything about what happened. And I know he didn't you can't go back to New Zealand, can he, for like a month?
No.
And whether that's just, it's just a lot that has happened and he just doesn't want to talk about it. I don't know. The build-up, he was great all week. Good spirits, really confident. To me, from the walkout, didn't look right. Not animated. Didn't give any love to his corner team, his coaches. Got in the ring, just looked, lethargic, tired, run down, not up for it. And then in the fight, was completely just out of Fox straight away. Chandler took the centre of the octagon, stalked him down, and finished him. I think, again, it's interesting when you see the build-ups and the interviews and what Hooker was saying. He didn't fear the takedown. He didn't fear this. He's got the answer for he's used to wrestling him. He clearly did fear the takedown because he went for every single one of Michael Chandler's feints. Every time Michael Chandler dipped, Hooker's hands went down. Yeah. And that was a perfect game plan because it allowed for that shot from Hooker, from Chandler. I can't get him right the way around. That allowed from that fight-ending shot from Chandler because Hooker's hands were down. He was defending the takedown. So he clearly did fear it. He didn't come in there and impart his own game, which he usually does. He has pressure from early, doesn't he? And it's hard to know at this point. We'd have to hear from Hooker. It's hard to know if Chandler's just that good. Obviously, he's got powerful hands. We know that. I'm just not sure if something wasn't right with Hooker or if Hooker was fearful of Chandler and Chandler's just very, very good. So I'm really interested to see. What do you think? Yeah. Because you've had time to we've talked about it on Sunday, but you've had time to think about it now.
Yeah, it's a combination of everything. And, you made the comment in particular about, Eugene Berman not being there and just having those guys there and like you say, in great spirits and then it was just like we saw him, it's game time. And then as soon as the fight started, I thought, I wasn't so much nervous. You was more nervous than me, kind of the walkout thing, and then the fight started, and just Hooker kind of backing up straight away, and whether it's a belief thing from Chandler, he's like a Connor. He talks well. He's got that belief. He knows his skills. He's worked hard. He's been around Fight Island once before as backup to the Khabib fight, so he's comfortable. He's, it's not kind of alien to him, this kind of environment. Like you say, took centre of the octagon, and I thought he would have finished him. Sorry, not finished him. He would have used his wrestling and probably got a decision, or and it was on the output. And both of us in the lead up said, well, one thing we can bet on is that Hooker will not be finished. And sure enough,
how many shots did Hooker take from Poirier?
Yeah,
last time on Fire, I was in Vegas, or whenever he fought Poirier. Yeah. And we're talking about Poirier finishing McGregor. Yeah. How powerful are Michael Chandler's hands?
Yeah. Well,
or was something wrong with Hooker? Did he have a shit weight cut?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Really
you'd have bet your house on he wouldn't have been finished.
No, I know.
Tough guy, hard to finish. Would have taken him a minute.
Well, what would you to say? Conor McGregor had been KO'd / knocked out, and Hooker. What would that be paying?
Yeah,
they were the two. They were the two outcomes that you didn't kind of foresee.
I didn't even consider that would happen to both of them. No, not a million years. And before we mention like the future of this really interesting division, what I think is worth mentioning is we as fans and the company, I think as the UFC, love Fight Island and what it's all about, and it's amazing. I don't know if the fighters like it. There's been loads of negative comments this week from fighters, kind of underhanded, and not making a big thing of it, but how miserable it was. Like, look at Dan Hooker, who's been there for weeks in isolation. He's now got to be in isolation for weeks. He can't go back to New Zealand for like 4 weeks as he can't get a flight back. But when you get to Fight Island, obviously there's all this glam and glitz, and embedded makes it look great, but you're either stuck in your room with nothing to do, trying to cut weight, miserable, or doing interviews, pressure, miserable. Poirier said the same thing. Didn't enjoy it. He was just like, he said in his, I don't know who he was talking to afterwards, an interview with someone, and he was kind of alluding how miserable it had been going to Fight Island. I'm not sure how fun it is for the fighter, and I don't know how much that affects their performances, but I've seen a few people saying, I don't want to go and fight on Fight Island again until I'm, with the future when it opens and stuff. Yeah, of course it's going to be the Vegas of the Middle East, obviously. Yeah. But I do wonder for a lot of the fighters on this card and some of the surprises that have thrown up, just how much that preparation has affected their actual performance on the night. I mean, only time will tell. And I don't think anyone's going to really speak out against UFC because obviously they've been given an amazing opportunity. They've been paid a lot of money for it. But I don't think it's as fun as we think it is. I think it's pretty crap being stuck in those rooms for that amount of time, isolating, basically to protect your fight. And it's just something I picked up on.
And what Azatar thinks of Fight Island?
I don't know. He won't be going back, I tell you that much. No. But that's the thing, when he's gone to some lengths there to sneak somebody in, how either bored is he or how much is he struggling with his weight cut to go to that length and risk your career, which now is in tatters. It's just a shame because he was stud in that division. I was really looking forward to his fight. Cut from the UFC now. Probably won't be let back in. Yeah, obviously you can go and have a career elsewhere, but it's never quite the same, is it? No. That's what I mean. I just don't know. As amazing as Fight Island is as a tool and for us, the viewing audience, I do feel a bit sorry for what the fighters have to go through in order to make the walk. And I wonder what effect that's had on people like Dan Hooker who've been there for a long time, or people who've done it multiple times. It just doesn't seem very fun, to be honest with you. But what is fun is what's going to unfold now in the lightweight division. The way and the reason we were saying we were deflated is because you had, Connor wins this, he calls out Khabib, it's unreal, he goes on and fights for the belt. Yeah. The plans all went, to the wayside. And at first I was a bit like, it's not, I'm not as interested now. But then when you look at the scope of the division, all of a sudden you're like, it's still unreal and there's still so many unanswered questions. To start with Connor, who he's got one fight here, I think, to save his career. Well, save his chances of getting to the belt at any point. I wouldn't say save his career, but save his chances of getting to the belt. Who will he put him against?
So you'll know my two options. So I quickly after the fight, we was trying to assess what we're going to do, what's going to happen in the division, and two names that I mentioned to you, and I'd love to see what you think of what I say, is straight off the bat I said Rafael dos Anjos or Tony Ferguson. RDA, and I'll paint the story, RDA should have fought Connor. got injured, and that's when Nate Diaz first originally stepped in. That's how we got Connor and Nate. Tony Ferguson, I would argue there's a story there, because I would say that the two big names in the division and in the UFC and, legends of the sport who now suddenly have something to prove in that division.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on
both of those? Are those two names, and there's one other name that I think are the most likely next scenario for Connor.
Yeah.
Both of those are winnable fights, but intriguing fights, not by no means a shoe-in.
Yeah.
The difficulty with McGregor and what we spoke about the other day is that he's a main event fighter.
Yeah.
How do you put him on these cards not in the main event? How do you how does he fall down the pecking order? Now, it just seems unthinkable, doesn't it, that he wouldn't be fighting in a main event, a 5-rounder. Yeah. He's gonna have to now go and fight probably underneath a fight for a belt. I don't know when it's gonna be. Don't know how quickly he can recover from his his leg injury. Sorry. I think I'd like the Tony fight, to be honest with you. I think it's probably more winnable for Connor. Just looked amazing. I think the Tony fight's more winnable. I think he's very hittable, and Connor needs that. He needs that fight to bounce back. The difficulty for the UFC is Connor's going to want to fight Poirier straight away. I guarantee you now that is why he's calling Dana very much like he did with Nate Diaz. I want the rematch. I want it right now. And you'd think he wouldn't. He's just lost. He wouldn't have as much power to call for that shot. But I wonder if he does. I don't know. I hope. I don't think that should happen for the division. I don't think it should happen, but it might. It might. He's still got. Poirier. Poirier's only fighting for a belt, and if we move on to Poirier, he's only interested in that UFC belt, and so that means I don't think he'll fight Nate Diaz, because I don't think you can put Nate Diaz in a title shot. I can't justify that. I think for me, most likely Poirier. I hope he will fight Oliveira for the belt.
Yeah.
Put the belt whenever Poirier fights next, he has to fight for the belt. Put the belt on the line. Oliveira deserves the shot. I can't question that. I think then the other side you do Chandler Gaethje, and then I think winners face off. Poirier's got the belt, or whoever wins that fight gets the belt. Those two face off. In the background, you've got heaps of other amazing fights, and you start to build your McGregor's back, and if Poirier can keep hold of that belt, you do the rematch back end of the year, maybe the third fight of the year. You give Conor another shot at the belt if he can get through his next one or two fights, and maybe it's a Tony Ferguson, a Dan Hooker, maybe it's a Tony Ferguson, and the loser of the other two fights, Oliveira, Chandler Gaethje, fights one of them, works his way back up. Who knows how that division plays out? There's the Nate Diaz card that's like always there to be played. They might well do that with Conor next. I think it's better and bigger if they're coming off wins, though. I think to play it now as you're playing that card at its lowest ebb. Yeah. And I don't. We can do better than that. I think we can do better than that. I wouldn't be against if they can both go and get a win against whoever next. They're coming off a win. Yeah. You can build a story around it. It's on the path to a title shot, I suppose, and that's how you do it. But it's a fascinating division. You've got so many players in there. You've got people in the background, like you Adesanya, your Felder still knocking around, Makachev still knocking around. If he can get a big win against, he's fighting Drew Dover, I think, isn't he, pretty soon? If he can get an impressive win, you suddenly got people talking about you again. But yeah, the top of that division is fascinating. For me, Oliveira versus Poirier for the belt, Chandler Gaethje, winner fights for the number one contender. Yeah. What do you think?
Yep, that's the way I would book it. But the way I think it's going to play out,
it could be different.
Is I think it's going to be Poirier Chandler. And the only reason I say that is because Charles Oliveira has been overlooked for so long now that I don't think it's going to change. And I've got a feeling that, because if I was Michael Chandler and I'm sat across from Dana and they're okay, there's your money, thank you for Fight Island, lovely performance, what's next? And if I was Michael Chandler, I would say I'm fighting for the belt. And Dana White says, "Oh well, you've had one fight in the UFC. Do you really deserve the title shot?" And he says, "Well, Khabib, your boy Khabib said, do something spectacular, and get me out of retirement." Chandler did something spectacular. So, off Khabib's rules, it should be Chandler, Khabib.
No, we're playing by Khabib's rules, though.
Exactly, but then you'd argue, if Khabib doesn't want to fight, well, that's fine, but I earned my shot through the spectacular criteria that your boy set. And he would say, well, it's Poirier, and then what do you do with Oliveira? Does he kick up a fuss? Do they say, listen, mate, you've been overlooked, but we'll give you Connor as a bit of a cash cow?
Yeah, it could. Oh God, I don't like.
But then, can Connor?
If you're the UFC trying to rebuild Connor, you don't give him Charles Oliveira.
Well, I know this is the thing,
Jesus.
but then
nobody wants to fight Oliveira. Nobody wants to fight Oliveira,
and that's a strong. But by Dana doing that,
well, yeah,
he knows that is a very tough matchup for Connor, and Dana White will say, like the Rocky 3, like he was saying, if you want to still be here, you got to show me.
Yeah, and Connor's in it. The downside of Connor's position is he can't turn down fights.
No,
he can't pick and choose anymore.
No.
That's what he's played his card.
Yeah.
He does have the money power card, which might get him the Poirier rematch straight away. But
I think Poirier's above that now, unfortunately.
But if you're Poirier, you're fighting for the belt or you're fighting Connor.
And this is where it comes into,
because
do you want the money?
Yeah.
Or do you want the championship?
Yeah. Well, I think he wants the belt. Close second to the belt is that if he's not getting the belt because he hasn't won it, then Connor's the next best option. Exactly. I don't think that's what they'll do, but they might. They might.
I think the title could move on to a Poirier, a Chandler, like we've been saying. And if Connor wants to fight, it's the Diaz trilogy, potentially.
Is the belt on the line when they next walk in, or does Poirier walk in as the champ?
I think.
Do they give it to someone, or is he just on the line?
No, it's on the line, because if they did that, that's going into boxing.
I hope
boxing
they
do that.
Like it,
they give titles at wanes.
Yeah.
And you go, huh?
On the fact that,
Yeah, there you go.
Because if anyone would, if anyone's going to be given the belt, surely it would be Gaethje. Who's the last person to fight him?
Well, exactly. And
surely it's not
exactly. And you talk about being overlooked. Gaethje goes, "Where do I fit into this? Because I
fought the champ last.
Yeah, I know.
So surely if he's given it up,
do I not get? Am I still?
And no one's beaten Khabib. So it's not like he can go to the last person to beat Khabib, can it?
I know. So
I think it's probably just there and it's in the octagon it's up for grabs.
Yeah.
Next time Poirier fights whoever that could be.
Yeah.
It doesn't set a good message, does it? If it's Conor Poirier and there's a belt on the line, because hang on, you're not fought in 2 years. You lost. You came back and fought for a belt.
One thing is absolute. Poirier is fighting for the belt. That's an absolute thing. That is a non-negotiable. Poirier is fighting for the belt.
Yeah.
And I can't see how a Poirier McGregor fight happens next, because you can't put McGregor in that title picture. You can't.
No, not for me. You
can't.
But does it?
I don't know how it's just. But I don't know how it could be justified. And I don't even think Conor would. How could Conor justify it?
You never go.
And they go, "Should you be here?" And he's like,
"No." I don't think it would do him any good either. He needs to go. He needs to go and find somebody else and get a win, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Because what if he goes in and loses again? What do you do then? Yeah.
So
very interesting. And we haven't even mentioned Hooker. Who knows what Hooker? Like I say, we haven't seen or heard from him at all. So he needs to rebound. Conor Hooker, there's another one there. Don't know. Both come off a loss.
Well, I am making my Australasia card, and I always said Hooker Diaz is the co-main.
That's it. Yeah, Diaz is the trump card and all, isn't he? Because he's coming in from the side and he's got his name, so he jumps the queue a little bit. But it's who do you match him up against? Who?
I think Conor will try and go for a trilogy. So if he said, right, you can't have Poirier, he'll cash his Diaz chips in.
Yeah.
Because for Conor, it's a winnable fight. He's beaten once. He can win the fight again. He can win the fight.
He can win the fight. Oh God!
But because then you've got.
I just think it's such a waste. Like it's coming off losses and I want him to go to coming off a win. I want Conor to go and smash Tony Ferguson.
Yeah, I know.
Diaz to go and smash someone, Dan Hooker, and then it's like me and you for the number one slot or something like that. Like there's more about it. Whereas if it's just you lost and I lost, so should we do a trilogy fight? It's a bit.
But the good thing about booking McGregor Diaz is the inactivity card you played. He's just as inactive as you.
Yeah. Yeah, true. I'm sure it'll all play out the next couple of weeks. We'll start to get matchups.
Okay.
It won't be. I don't think McGregor will be matched up first, but there'll be some matchups. Maybe even Diaz might go first.
So, in summary for the podcast this week, we talk about Solskjaer.
Yeah.
We talk about Klopp, and we talk about Connor McGregor. And I would say the word and the theme of the podcast is bounce back ability.
Yeah.
Show us something.
Yeah. It's fascinating. And before we end, we're trying to. So we were deflated. We were deflated going to this, and I feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
There's prospects on the horizon.
Yeah.
There's also prospects on the horizon in our second favourite division.
Yes.
With the middleweights, it's starting to come together. We already know Adesanya's going up to light heavyweight, fighting Jan in April or March. Yeah. There's fights now in that division. Whittaker is fighting Costa, which I just think is just a terrible. They just don't like Whittaker at all, does he?
No.
He just gets. Look at his record. It's absolutely savage. But it's a great fight. It's a winnable fight for Whittaker. He's been in there with big fellas before. I don't think he'll fear the power so much, and I do think his speed and his versatility is huge. Maybe he'll start to grapple Costa. I don't know, but it's a very winnable fight. And if he beats Costa, he's next in line for that title. Whatever Adesanya decides to do, whether he vacates or he comes back down, defends, whatever it is. We've also got matchups with Darren Till. It's back in action, April. Very, very tough matchup with Marvin Vettori. I don't really know what to make of that as well, because it's going to be a test for Till's chin. Vettori's got power, strong wrestler, can grapple. But I think for Till, as we know, he doesn't shy away from these big fights, does he? No. And I suppose there's no easy matchup there. He's going to have to come through some absolute killer to get anywhere near that belt.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see how they match up size wise when they get in there, because Vettori's thick, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's probably not as tall and rangy as Till, and I think Till will have to turn that into a smart, striking, heavy fight again. And I don't think that, just my initial thoughts on it won't be an entertaining fight. I think Till's going to have to do exactly what he's done in the past, where he has to fight really smart, stay at range, give output. He's definitely got to give more output and pull the trigger more, but he can't be loose and start stepping into range, because chin is susceptible. His chin is susceptible. We know that.
I worry for that fight.
Yeah,
I've got a few gripes with the matchmaking in that division, by the way.
Right, why? Go on.
I think they've matched up wrong in a way.
Okay, go on, explain.
So I think it should be Whittaker Vettori.
Right.
I think it should be Costa Cannonier.
Yep.
I think it should be Till Hermansen. How does Till get Vettori when he didn't fight Hermansen? How can you leapfrog from Hermansen if you've not fought Hermansen?
Yeah, well, because Hermansen lost, didn't he?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It wasn't Till's fault.
Yeah,
it wasn't Till's fault.
I know, but Till's not. Till also lost against Whittaker.
Yeah. Again, I know.
He's coming off a loss, and he didn't fight the bloke. He was that they booked.
He just skipped.
So you don't jump over the bloke.
Yeah, but it might have been time as well. They needed to start moving that division on, didn't they? And obviously, maybe Hermansen took a bit of a shellacking, didn't he? In that fight, he's probably not fit and ready to go. Yeah. Till's game.
Exactly.
Not many people will be putting their hands up to fight Vettori either. No. I do worry for Till in that fight though.
I do. Vettori's a beast.
He's just a beast.
And he's that. He knows no one likes him. He don't care.
Yeah.
And that's a bad day.
I wonder if that one is, and he's not likable at all. And I wonder if that Till's usually a bit, that respectable, self-confident but respectable. And I'd like to see him bring the dog out in Till. I think that is, that could work for Till. Hopefully he keeps his smarts about him in the fight, and I do think he'll have to play it safe and stay at range and use his kicks and stuff like that. But I hope he brings out a bit more of a dog in Till, because we haven't really seen that in the octagon yet, have we?
No.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that division's it's shaping up, and it's gonna be a good year in both those divisions, and I'm bloody excited to see it. See, I'm inflated now. It's happy days. I was all deflated going to this. All you need is to come and sit down with your mate and have a chat about what's going on, sort out all the world's problems.
Exactly. And have you got? I think the mood is lifted a little bit. Is it because you've got the beer that we're about to have, and maybe the fried chicken sandwich from Cane Cutters? Is that what's maybe fueling the excitement?
That certainly was the foundations upon which this inflation was built.
Yeah.
When you floated that idea on WhatsApp before we came and sat down,
that's it.
Suddenly the world seemed right again.
That's it.
Right, let's call it there, because I now want this chicken sandwich
and
a pint of Fixation IPA.
That's it.
There we go.
Other beers are available.
Yeah, but they're not as good as this.
No, they're not.
As always, thank you very much for tuning in. If you like what you're hearing, hit the subscribe button, give us a like. We'll be back next week with hopefully a UFC card to talk about. We're not quite sure yet.
Yeah, it says there's one fight scheduled at the moment, but you reckon there's a few that...
So next week might be a short episode.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll be glossing over Liverpool and Spurs because that could go tits up as well.
Exactly. So we'll just be breaking down Harry Kane's hat-trick tomorrow, so that'll be nice.
Oh, happy days. Yeah. Like, subscribe.
Tell your friends.
Cheers, Grant.
Cheers, Matt.